All right. Get this off. All right. Good afternoon. Let's get the show on the road here. Okay. I gotta pull up. I'm not gonna do like my write up. I'm not gonna do it on stream. I don't want to switch between a million tabs. It's fucking annoying. Okay. 1 second. Take a phone call. It was not important at all. Why can't I duplicate this? Okay. Open. Give me 2 seconds. January 25th. Let me turn the volume up here. Actually, you know what? I'll do it as I go. Stream is good. Shut that off. All right. All right. Start off with a larger time frame view here. And then we'll go down to medium and lower time frame. Go from there. All right. So obviously we broke down from yearly val. Sorry. Previous year VWAP, right? We bottomed off of this 8-week composite low. And we've built out almost 3 months of value now at the end of the month. So I have this now labeled 3-month composite low, 3-month composite high. And then we built out, what is it, 10 weeks of value, I believe. Let's zoom this out. So I can't see it. Yeah, so 10 weeks of value. I know it's just kind of hard to read. Built out 10 weeks of value here. Was 8 weeks. So basically we did have what you can do normally, like I said, once we had a failure above here, we didn't accept higher. And then we built up more value inside. So you kind of have balance throughout here. And then you have 1 week, let's say that's up here. You know, you may not want to add it, but you know, let's say you build another week out here, which we did. Then that's really just a failed auction or deviation, and you can, you know, merge the whole thing. So that's what we have now. So we have 10 weeks of value. As you can see here, there's my 10-week composite high. Why is it different now? That's weird. There. And the low is, I don't know why that's changed on me. That's weird. The 10-week composite low is, what's that, 86? Sorry, I got to fit the TPO on the screen on TradingView, you have to zoom it way out. 80, just under 87K. So I think it was 8 weeks up to that point. So normally when we get a break from value, which we had here, we had 8 weeks of value. We have this smaller 5-day composite here. We had a couple failed breaks a couple weeks ago. That's what these were. Looked constructive and then failed, reverted back into value. Put some time and space in above here, right? And then we had a clean break from value and we went imbalanced up. So normally when we break from value, actually, I think I mentioned this earlier to Saber when we were talking in VC, and I think I put in the references channel as well. I threw something up because this is rather useful. I know some of like the acceptance and value stuff is still kind of new to some people, but it's really worth noting. When you have value like this, or I guess that the 8-week would have been like here at the time, time and space above the level acceptance, right? And then you just go completely imbalanced up. It really doesn't give any pullbacks, right? So that's what you want to see upon a true break from value. It's not something you'd want to fade. More often than not, you know, we were constructive, that older 14-week POC. Where is it here? Yeah, so this kind of interaction here, I went long there a couple weeks ago. Look constructive. Of course, I know that's going to be a level of resistance. There was a really thin area, like a single print there, a gap. So it makes sense that we did fail above here. It makes sense. The The more significant level, like I said, is that 3 month though, right? So the older 14-week was a level I wanted to get bullish above, and the 3-week is really this massive overlapping area of balance with this profile here, the composite highs here. So normally, like I said, when you see a true break from value, it doesn't really give pullbacks because it's trending, right? So all of the people that missed out on the move usually just leads to more imbalance. Now, obviously, that's not what happened, right? So like I mentioned, like I said, it's in the reference sheet. I'll explain it again. When you get a break from value, and maybe you can see this sometimes on, order flow or spot support or lack of spot participation, rather. Sorry, weak tape, whatever. When you start building out value or ranging above value, like I said, that's what you would more often than not call a failed auction or just a deviation from value, which is what we had here. So we bounced the 14-week initially, right? And then we pushed up. I got long here because it's what I wanted to see to go long. It failed, reverted back into this kind of thin area here where this single print was, right? And then we were rotationally, I think inside of an older composite, we build out more value here. And then we revert back into the 3-month composite high, right? So at that point, knowing we accepted inside of there, you expect traversal, which is down to this kind of order block here, confluent with these lows at 86K. So like I said, more often than not, break from value, start ranging, likely going to fail. Get rid of that. Just want to clear this off. So that's also what we had here. I'm just going to go down the list of developments here. And then we saw acceptance back inside of the, like I said, the 8-week was here. It's now 10 weeks and the level's different, but it was acceptance back inside of the 8-week. So again, what do you expect? We expect the traversal of value, which would put you down to here. So very bearish shift with this failure. So traversal down to here. And the next most important, I would say, composite on the chart is that now 10-week was 8-week. Same thing, clear acceptance there, time and space. Even kind of came and retested at last week's high almost, but didn't quite get where I wanted to short. I'll touch on that too. And, that's expecting traversal as well. Now, there is times that the traversal value can be interrupted, and that's at a point of control. So that's what we had on Wednesday when I got long. I see it. Yeah, and then from there, that can interrupt it, right? So it depends. So if you see acceptance, like I said, the 8 weeks around here, so if we accept mean revert at the POC, it could be a retest and then traversal. It could also be an interruption of traversal and then a break above. And then at that point, you would just target the next area of balance, which would be here. Now, on a shorter term, like I said, you would be expecting the traversal, which, like I said, is these overlapping levels here. Previous year, previous quarter val are also there. We just bounced them, which we'll touch on in a second. But that's what you'd expect. And then we'll talk about a shorter term development here, and then we'll go from there. Where are we here? 1 second. I have to turn this thing off behind me. I don't know if you can hear it on my mic. I don't know. Okay, so we have 5 days of value built out here. So let's just go down here. That was the mean reversion at the POC there. Found resistance. We capped upside against weekly VWAP. Let me just put that on because that's a pretty important level right now. So yeah, we capped upside against weekly VWAP, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a little deviation. Basically 5, 6 times we capped upside against there. Also rejecting this older 5-day value area low and building out value here and rejecting, what's this? The older 17-day value area high, which hasn't actually been an amazing level to try and execute off of, but it's still being respected overall. So it's something I'd keep on the chart. Just might not be a trade location as of right now. Or, it could have been with the new composite low here. But anyways, built out 5 days of value here. We had a pretty decent failure here. I actually did bid long on this. I didn't send the signal, but I did take this on Friday. Yeah, so it's right here. This was that New York Open fuckery. A bunch of shorts stepped in. We came down here, found a bottom. This is what you call like a mouse trap. Basically, it's a bottom forms, and obviously this can happen either side, but buyers step in, right? So new buyers step in. You get one more sweep, so they're forced to close, right? And then the move actually happens, right? So long step in into low, they get swept, and then the move happens. So that was a pretty decent bullish shift there. And then above here as well. So this is the same thing I just want to touch on quickly, then we'll speed this up a bit more. Yeah, so we look bullish at that point, right? So we are expecting traversal of value, being that the market is rotational from here to here, right? Inside of this, I think it was 3-day composite at the time. Excuse me. So traversal of value continues there. We put time and space in above the level. I went long here. And then it just formed a mini range, right? Obviously in a shorter time frame. You can see, this makes sense per rhythm, right? This lower high that's put in right here, right? Confluent with these ones, looks very similar. It's what you ideally want to see. Went long there and then no follow through, right? So at that point, being a bullish shift above this smaller composite, we're still bearish in the 3-month and we're still bearish in the 8-week at the time. And the 8-week high was about here, right? So what I was expecting was I was going to bid long here. I was already long here and here. And I was going to target these highs confluent with, I think, previous month value area high, this older 5-day, which is the gray box, and the 8-week, which was right around here. And then at that point, like I said, you could mean revert and then test a level and then traverse. Or we could put time and space in above, and then at that point, it's a breakout of value, and that's not something you'd fade, and I would target the next area of balance, which is up here, which would be the same idea. It would be retesting the 3-week high, or 2-week, I guess, at that point, 2.5. Hopefully it's not too much to explain. But again, failure reverts back into value. So from there, we just kind of range. We slowly trickled down throughout the weekend. We had a pretty clear break from there, retested composite value area low and weekly value area low, and then broke down, and we're now at the POC and previous quarter val. Now, from this point, everything is pointing bearish. So, I mean, we're underneath 365-day rolling, but I mean, that's not important right now. We did flip the 90-day, failed. We're back under it, back under the 30-day, failed at the 7-day last week. So all rolling VWAPs say price is pointing down. Composite structure also says pointing down, right? So if we talk about the most important composite structure, it would be failure above the 3-month or 2.5, I guess it was. We also accepted back inside of the 8-week, now 10-week. Failed above here and broke down from here. So these are all bearish shifts. So it's pretty hard to be bullish right now. Now, I would say an interesting scenario, I mean, it's not something I'd probably bid right now, but we did mean revert the POC. There's not really any price action confluence to just bid long off of this, right? Clearly broke down from value. Just to buy here makes no sense. Now, there is a lot of buying stepping in at this level. A nice bullish shift in momentum would be another bottom off the POC. We kind of form a double bottom here. Acceptance back inside, that would be a bullish shift that I would try and take up to probably here. Well, I mean, at least the full traversal of the smaller composite, but I'd probably even try and play it up to here. The now 10-week, being that, that could still be your mean reversion to the POC. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. If not, fire away questions I don't mind answering. What else do we need to go over here? Talk about it on a larger time frame here. So yeah, I mean, overall it looks pretty cooked, right? Failures above here. Already mentioned the failure above the 3-month. So on a longer time frame, I would say if we do break down from the 3-month, I think it's very likely. I don't think we're going to see a sweep of November's low and reclaim the 8-week. Of course, if that happened, that'd be a bullish shift, and that's something I would bid. But I think it's a lot less likely. I don't think it's going to happen. I think at that point, we would see acceptance inside of 2024 value, which would be here. I know I've gone over this before, but I'm going to do it again. This is 2024 value, 2024 VWAP. As we would see acceptance or a breakdown from this older 8-week val. We'll run November's low, put time and space in under here, and I think we're running to, this 67K, this like summer 2024, basically. So March to November composite from 2024, confluent with VWAP and the POC. So this POC, I think, is one of the most high volume areas on the entire chart, at least in the last 2 years. So, I mean, I would be anticipating probably trying to even just bid long immediately off of that POC. And then from there, I think the likely reaction is Like I said, if we do break down, we'll probably bounce the POC. And if you look here off this visible range volume profile, right, you have a very obvious area of balance here. You have balance here. You have balance throughout here, right? And then you have a really thin area here. So I think the likely thing to happen is that we would bounce the POC and maybe deviate it a little bit into 2024 VWAP. Again, this is Coinbase, maybe Binance, whatever's higher. Again, doesn't really matter. We probably tag that, and then I think we'd build out value between here and here. So we'd, I don't know how long, but we would fill in this void until this was no longer a low volume node kind of area. That's what I expect. Yeah. How far along are we here? 20 minutes. All right. I think this is fairly educational right now, like what we're going over. Let's look at VWAP quickly here. Again, right now we're retesting, so let's go to a bit of a lower time frame. So yeah, that was that POC tap there off of previous year val. You know, from there, the next target is previous year VWAP. I've talked about this multiple times. We'll talk about more upside targets in a second, and then trade ideas. And then maybe anyone else wants me to go over different charts, I can do that. But good support here, something I would want to hold. Of course, it could be deviated, sweep these lows and reclaim or something, but it's a definite level of support that was bounced last week. Yeah, I'll talk about previous year, I guess, in a second. Previous year VWAP, that is. Previous quarter val, exactly the same thing. They overlap. Previous quarter, previous year values, basically the exact same. So nothing crazy there. Monthly. So here's developing month. So this was the flush from last week's open, just fully traverse value without really any resistance at all. Yeah, we also saw acceptance back inside of previous month value, compressing against developing month value area low. That was that squeeze. We almost retested previous month value area high. I guess you could maybe count that as a retest. I guess it just depends how you want to look at it. And then from there, right, we just started to break down. We kind of became imbalanced down developing month. We've broken through previous month VWAP. So definitely bearish shifts there with value. And then in a second, I'll talk about you know, where that can kind of change. Weekly, again, bearish as well. What do we have here? So week opens up, immediately imbalance down, kind of fails to accept, mean reverts, and then we capped upside against weekly VWAP like 6 or 7 times. Rotational, just in the lower half here, we get that failed move above the composite high, and then we just become rotational in the lower half, slowly grinding down. Looks like we broke down there. So inbounds down on weekly. So like I said, all references here with VWAP are basically bearish at this point. Now let's talk about upside, I guess, and then go over some kind of hypos here, I guess. Upside. So let's say, you know, where does this all change? Where can we actually try to go long? Well, as of right now, again, I'll do a full write-up and stuff in Discord. I was going to do it on the stream. I don't know if people like when I do that. I think it takes the stream a bit longer, but I do the full write-up anyways on Discord. I mean, these lows are extremely obvious, confluent with the 10-week and the 3-month, right? So obviously this is like the last level I would actually look to long. I think if we went any lower, just based off of the current chart, I wouldn't be longing here, you know, I guess there maybe, but anywhere in here doesn't make sense to even try and do anything. There's just nothing to work with based off of value. So really nothing to work with there. This would be the last area I wanted to bid. So sweep of these lows, hopefully tag the 3-month val, maybe bid here. I don't know how heavy I would go. It just depends on the reaction, to be honest. Hard to say. Even with this massive 3-month distribution, the POC is so low. So like playing a shift back inside of these overlapping values. So previous month val, previous quarter, previous year are a little bit higher. The 17-day val, a shift back inside there would definitely be a long. Of course, I would try and play that up to probably the 10-week composite high. Maybe like some of these high volume nodes would also make sense. There's enough overlapping levels there. But of course, like you could bid here, maybe you could even bid here, and it could get capped upside against, you know, the VWAP overlap and the POC, being that it's, you know, it's technically the POC could stop the rotation back to the other side, right? And then from there, I think it's basically imminent breakdown, to be honest. As we sit right now, I would not bid this, I don't believe. I mean, it certainly looks like it's going to break down. A lot of buying stepped in here, so just touch on this kind of development here once we broke down from value. I mean, big flush here, pretty heavy delta, heavy negative delta here. There's both, new shorts opening into the POC. So, I mean, obvious support as well as longs being squeezed out here. So these green candles are large threshold increases in open interest. So positions opening, and the red is large decrease in open interest. So once you couple that with delta, you get an idea whether it's new shorts opening, new longs opening, closing. You get what I'm saying. And then after that, we had really heavy buying participation here as well. So this is a large increase in open interest, right? And then you get pretty heavy positive delta here trying to bid the POC. So like I said, would I bid this? No. As shitty as this looks, it doesn't really look like we're going to hold this, to be honest. We're imbalanced down on the daily VWAP as well. If we did hold the POC again and previous quarter val, as well as this kind of double bottom, that would certainly be a bullish development. But I think I would bid if we got back in here. I would play that up to, probably deviate weekly VWAP and try and play it up to, first target would be the traversal of the 5-day, but I would play that up to the 10-week. And then from there, if you want to talk about VWAP as well and overlap, you would be seeing acceptance inside of weekly val as well as monthly val. So the full traversal of weekly value would put you up to here, right? And the mean reversion for monthly VWAP would put you at the 10-week high. So I think if we did truly break from here, like I said, the next obvious area to target is the area of balance. So the market moves from balance. Areas of balance, goes in balance, and finds other areas of balance. So we did go long here. The next obvious area to target would be the 3-month value area high. And I think this is this is previous week's value. So naked point of control here as well. And then you run into more kind of VWAP overlap there. So, that would be the last target. At what point do we shift extremely bullish? I'd say on more of a medium time frame. I'd say if we spend time and space above the 3-month, right? So maybe we tag the POC, holds on a retest, and then we start building out value here, and we become rotational. At that point, you'd expect a traversal, right? And then at that point, you get above. If we got that and we held above the 3-month, then I think that's probably your signal that we're going to go towards 101K. And could probably get bullish upon a breakout of this composite and a flip of the 14-week too. Again, that's totally anticipatory. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's how I would play that for sure. That would be your medium term, long term. If we got bullish, it would be tag the POC, hold, and break above. Of course, it could also tag the POC if it had a really good reaction to go short and break down from value. Then at that point, it would be failure above the 3-month. Mean reversion at the POC, retest value area high, and then at that point, I'd be almost 100%, I don't want to say 100% confident, but you would absolutely expect that at that point it's going to break down if it failed twice above that level. All right, I think I touched on everything. I guess trade setups here right now. I'll make this look cleaner in my chart, but I would say if we do shift above, I would go get bullish above there. For sure. I'm not going to bid this. I would probably get bullish above. Probably not the 10-week. You could probably get bullish above here too, given the reaction. I would say this is the most important shift, though, if we did get that. Breakout of this value, acceptance back into this one. Of course, I tried that on Friday and it failed, but that was absolutely nothing wrong. It's set up perfectly, just happened to fail. I would bid long there, probably. I don't think I would short this now. This was the 8-week, so no, I wouldn't short that. I wouldn't short the 10-week either. I'd rather play the move up to the 10-week and then see if it fails. And if it did, then I would try and play the returns back down. Excuse me. So I'd try and bid long there, I think. I would still be interested in shorting a 3 months, sorry. So we tagged the POC and then broke down. That would be a short. I think if we spend enough time and space, it would be a long. Same thing above here would be a long. Pretty straightforward, I think. What else do we have to the downside? Yeah, I would say if we sweep these lows and it looks good, maybe I bid down here, just in this imbalance, which would probably be a lighter position. Upon acceptance back inside, I would try and bid that too, and I would target. I mean, first obvious target would be the overlap between the 17-day and this 5-day. So a full traversal from 87 to basically 88K. And I guess the larger move, I guess it depends how low it goes, if it tags the 3-week or not, or 3 months, sorry. Would probably be the 10-week. Of course, you could try and go for the full move up. I guess it depends how it sets up. I wouldn't anticipate that though. I think that's pretty much it for Bitcoin from what I wanted to touch on. Anybody have any questions on that or want me to go over any other pairs? Solana looks awful. Of course, I didn't short up here when I sent the chart. I didn't fucking take it. Solana. Solana looks awful. I wouldn't even touch it right now. Lovely. What's up, Deems? I wouldn't touch Solana at all. Here's a Sol BTC chart. Got a crossover between 30-day, 7-day rolling VWAP, filled the imbalance, rejection, acceptance back inside here, and then just absolute nuke. I would not touch Solana right now. I wouldn't even try and bid it at all. ETH, I think, is the same. ETH is the same. Looks like shit. Bitcoin's holding up a lot better than these. Like I said, if you were to play this level, like sweep these lows, you would have bid long there, which I assume was when Bitcoin tagged the POCs. What this push is, filled the imbalance, tagged previous year VWAP, broke down. That was the failure when Bitcoin failed Friday. Yeah, getting bearish at range lows like this just makes no sense. So I mean, truthfully, I wouldn't even touch this right now. Makes no sense. Bitcoin, yeah, I mean, still some buying happening here. I mean, pretty heavy throat here. That was the flush down, as well as shorts kind of piling into the POC a little bit. And then from there, I mean, we're still steadily increasing. Like, none of this is major, but I mean, that's all new positions opening. And the vast majority of this is positive delta. So these are buyers basically all throughout here. Again, it's pretty weak. I mean, you can see there's CVDs going up, prices basically flagging. Of course, flag patterns sometimes break up. That's what I would hope for, but I mean, hard to say. If we do shift back inside here, I would absolutely look to play the long, given it's also acceptance side of weekly value. So, all right. That touches everything for Bitcoin. I'll sit here for a sec. Anybody wants me to go over anything else, just let me know. That's all I'm really looking at right now. I haven't even charted alts, to be honest. No, this looks like shit too. Everything looks pretty rough right now. XRP, oh my god. How anybody has faith in this coin is fucking beyond me. I have no idea. Hype looks alright. Weekly Val, maybe. Weekly POC is there. 4-day composite. I would expect this POC to get tagged on hype if we find support. Wouldn't bid here. If Bitcoin holds, this will hold, but nothing I would bid. POC is pretty interesting here, I would say. This is something I'll mark. Oh, whoops. Long term, I wouldn't be looking to get anything on this right now. Why can't I type this? POC, 4-day, okay. Yeah. Weekly open. Yeah, I mean on hype, POC. This will be previous week val if this does get tagged. That's how I would play this. $786. Yeah. One thing I would do with hype right now. All right. XRP looks like shit. Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything looks awful right now. So, on Bitcoin, if you were short from anywhere, I mean, especially anywhere up here, would have been great. I had some really good short ideas I sent around here, but I was away half of the week last week. I didn't even get in them. So, I should be back full this week. Hopefully, get some going. Yeah, I mean, buyers are still here. Ideally, I mean, usually at a high or a low, you want to see, you'd rather see shorts into a low than buyers stepping in at a low. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean anything because if we shift back inside, I would long. It's just, this is a rather poor low, I would say. There's not a lot of good, I mean, nothing crazy here. But yeah, we'll see. 5-day. Yeah, I guess if we get above today's developing value, step back inside here, I would bid long there for sure. Makes sense. So this holds, I'm happy. I mean, I'd rather play to the upside right now, I think, but we'll see. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. So thank you everybody for joining. Have a good week. I'll post my my write-up here. Probably up in a few minutes. Just have to punch all that in.